Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So I guess we're now on part 3 of an ongoing situation involving Mythic Talent and its co-founder Asmongold. We really got the bad ending of this messy situation with ultimately Asmongold and Mythic Talent agreeing to part ways. Now this has been a situation that's been brewing for about a week where there have been call-out posts targeting people who work with Mythic Talent. They're being canceled through guilt by association because Asmongold co-founded the agency. This resulted in some people announcing their departure or confirming their previous departure from the agency. This also led to some of their former collaborators announcing their grievances with the company, and now we have some updates regarding that and a statement from Mythic Talent regarding some of their alleged bad practices as a business. And then ultimately, we're going to see Asmongold parting ways with the company, and how that actually pans out, nobody really knows right now. But what I do know is that his departure is being used as an example of cancel culture working. And people are not just stopping with this quote-unquote win with Asmongold's departure. They're now targeting the remaining Mythic Talent creators and trying to get them removed as well. So let's get the full context really quick before we get into the new stuff. If you're not familiar with Mythic Talent, it's very simple. They're basically a middleman for sponsorships. Content creators work with them, and Mythic Talent finds them sponsors, and they help facilitate that for a cut. Now, Asmongold is a co-founder of Mythic Talent. You can see his video announcing his starting up of that company a couple years ago. And, well, about a week ago, a #1, rank 1 Asmongold hater, Casey Tron, decided to start a harassment campaign not only against Asmongold, but anyone associated with Mythic Talent. This isn't just some random case of Asmongold derangement syndrome. This was a post she made that was targeting the creators that were listed on their website. She even provided a link to these creators and basically asked people to look at these talents and demand that these talents do something, whether that's leave the company or speak out against Asmongold. And this is something that she confirmed on a recent stream and made her intentions very clear.
But no, like what I find like the most disturbing now is like these people who are still affiliated with him. You know, it's like, why are there people still on his talent agency? Why is his talent agency have all these sponsors when every other day he's advocating for people to be murdered in the streets? Like every day he's literally advocating for some other minority group to be killed by the police. You know, him and XQC are laughing about Renee Good being fucking shot. They're like laughing and hee-hawing about it. It's like, why does Asmongold have a talent agency that has so many fucking people on it? And why is it sponsored by so many? Like, that's like the point that I'm at now. Like, who are the people that we're seeing pictured with Asmongold within the last 6 months? Have they answered for it?
As you can see from that clip and also her further reply, this is all about guilt by association. Her vendetta against Asmongold is the fuel behind this. This is not about doing the right thing. She just wants to cause problems for Asmongold, and she's allowing these creators at Mythic Talent to be caught in the middle and literally used as pawns in her war against Asmongold, which resulted in harassment against completely apolitical streamers who are now being called things like Hitler Youth racists simply for working with this agency that helps them find sponsorships. Now, there was an interesting development the other day where a former Mythic Talent creator named Grimmy came out and made some statements only a year after she joined the agency, where she said some vague things about stuff going on behind the scenes.
I don't know. Pretty much all I'll say is that was there was something very, very crazy. I think people would be pretty upset about it if they do, and that's pretty much all I can say. I think everyone would be pissed, but I am not going to talk about it. And if I hear any rumors spreading about why I left, where they're trying to frame me negatively, I will talk about it. And I will tell everyone exactly what it was. I was really, really, really upset. And I think everyone would have been, like, universally there. So, alright. I would have been upset too if you knew. If you knew. But Grimmy got receipts. I do, actually. I have proof of something. But, I'm gonna see if I can't... Well, I'm 50-50 on whether or not it's gonna become a legal matter or not, so that's pretty much it.
Now, as you can see, this was my second video involving this situation, and my reaction to that initial clip was, well, I want more details. You know, on the one hand, she was saying she didn't really want to talk about it, but she was, of course, talking about it. And also, she was saying, you know, it's kind of silly, but also saying it's pretty serious and could involve legal action. Now, the good news is we got some clarifications. We did get specifics about her grievances with the company, and there's a Reddit post summing this all up, but here's some of the screenshots from her stream where she is trying to allege that Mythic Talent was essentially scraping from the top. What that means is a company would want to work with her, right? And Mythic would work as the middleman and get a number, a price for the collaboration. And what would happen is Mythic would take a portion of that initial offer, then approach people like Grimmy with that new number that has been reduced from the initial number, and then take a cut based on that number. Essentially, what she's alleging through these screenshots is that Mythic Talents would take something off of the top, collect it for themselves, and then give her essentially a lower rate than she should have gotten if they gave the real upfront number that was initially presented. And I gotta tell you, looking at this stuff, at the very least, it's confusing. And also, you can't really see it, it's very small here, but this is a personal pet peeve. I absolutely hate the lack of professionalism from these companies. It drives me insane. You can see the Mythic Talent reps here, they're censored out, their names at least, but they're talking with no punctuation. They're typing with no punctuation. It's very informal. They're abbreviating words like obvious to obvi, and there's like grammatical errors everywhere. Like the whole thing seems so unprofessional. And yeah, just looking through the screenshots, it's at the very least confusing. I think it's confusing as to what was the initial offer, what did she actually get presented with, what was the cut that Mythic took. At the very least, I don't think she was malicious in anything she's done so far. I think Grimmy, even if she's wrong, she might have misunderstood a confusing set of communications coming from Mythic. If she's right, however, well, that would mean that Mythic was taking money off the top, and that would be a very bad look for them. Now, Mythic will address this, sort of, and kind of make things even more complicated, but we'll get back to that in just a second. So, the primary update for this video involves Asmongold and the fact that they are parting ways with him. So here's the statement made late last night. We have spoken with Asmongold and mutually agreed to part ways. Mythic represents creators from a wide range of backgrounds and perspectives, and we are committed to fostering an environment grounded in respect and responsibility. We remain focused on supporting our creators and continuing our mission to help them build sustainable, long-term careers. Now, a lot of people take issue with this language about accepting people with a wide range of backgrounds and perspectives, given the context. But number one, right off the bat, you can see down here, the replies are locked. Now, I swear, I could be wrong. I swear there's an Asmongold quote out there where someone asked, why do people on Twitter lock the replies? And he said it's because basically they're cowards. Anyone who does this, especially companies, it basically says we don't want to deal with the backlash directly. You're going to have to at least quote the tweet instead of directly reply. It is not a very good look. It doesn't show a lot of confidence in their decision. And people were pointing this out, saying you automatically admit you're in the wrong when you turn off replies. Foolproof distinction. Another tweet saying Asmongold did nothing wrong. Another one saying they bent the knee, yikes. This likely happened because Asmongold refuses to censor himself. He remains unfiltered and companies view that as a brand risk. Reminder to work with most companies, you have to censor yourself or be removed. Yeah, basically that is very true. A lot of companies have to work with nowadays. You have to at least censor yourself or eventually you're going to get removed. I know about that personally. But here's the thing. this whole bent the knee concept, well, that's how a lot of people are taking this situation, given the context and given the vagueness. I talked about the vagueness of Grimmy's initial grievances with the company. Well, we have more details now, but that's an issue with vagueness. The post from Mythic here is very vague and open-ended. It allows people to draw their own conclusions, including saying they bent the knee. I mean, just based on context, a week ago, this harassment campaign, this guilt by association campaign, started from Caseytron, and now all of a sudden, the co-founder has parted ways with the company. I mean, a lot of people will view that as bending the knee until we hear something else. And right now, I see that Asmongold is responding to tweets. He is active on Twitter, but he's so far said nothing about it. And I don't know if he's going to talk on his stream today or tomorrow about it, but we'll have to wait and see. But this is the narrative a lot of people are running with. Now, Craig here points out something interesting. Asmongold didn't leave for nothing and most certainly was bought out. He was rich, now he's just richer. If he was bought out, Mythic will have to be very strategic with the expenses coming up, or they could be done as well. And the cold hard truth is that if Asmon wanted, he can just start over and see just as much success. That is definitely true. He could start his own company anytime he wants. He's kind of his own brand at this point. He has the finances and the name to carry pretty much anything from the ground up. But also, yeah, I think there's some very fair questions about what this even means when he's parting ways with the company. Is he just removing himself as a public image for the company, or is he removing himself as a creator working with the company, or is he actually stepping down as a co-founder? Like, I think it's a very fair question to ask. Does he still have interest in the company as a co-founder? Because if so, some people would view this as a win for him. He's taking a step back, he's got less heat on him, but he can still collect money from the agency as it keeps running. These are fair questions, and hopefully he might resolve some of these. We'll have to wait and see. But here's a post from Madam Savvy saying, fascinating given the timing, very fascinating that we're still doing guilt by association in 2026. Very, very fascinating. This comes after Caseytron, who recently settled out of court, put what looks like a harassment call to Mythic. Very, very, very fascinating that Caseytron did not put out a harassment call to the agencies that represent both Asmongold and Hassan. That's a very good point that I raised in my previous video. Nobody, including Caseytron, cares about Night Media, for example, which, by the way, does the exact same thing as Mythic Talent. They are there to help content creators get more sponsorship opportunities. And they're very limited as to who they work with. And who are those limited partners? Asmongold and Hassan Piker. You don't see a single person like Caseytron or any of these people trying to harass these Mythic Talent members go after Night Media. This is much more direct. They have a very limited roster of people they work with, and it just so happens to be Asmongold and Hassan. And none of them are targeting Night Media. None of them. Because they would be punishing Hassan, who's on their side. I mean, with Caseytron, it's very obvious. She's an orbiter of his, despite the fact that she admitted publicly that he left her high and dry during her recent settlement with Ethan Klein. But I digress. It doesn't serve her agenda, so she doesn't care. And she makes it very clear with her quotes of Mythic Talent's statement saying, they knew my behind wasn't gonna let up. But in all seriousness, that man should not be representing anyone. You can see how absolutely salty she is. This is not about doing the right thing. This is about beating Asmongold. It's about winning. It's about punishing him and anything he's associated with. And she'll use anyone, including innocent apolitical parties, to accomplish that, even if that means those parties get harassed in the meantime. It's all about getting back at Asmongold. And even some of the accounts promoting Caseytron understand this likely won't do anything to Asmongold, at least with his bottom line. These accounts even admitting that they just want to have fun when confronted with the fact that with other companies, well, it seems like he still owns them despite stepping down, as he has said, or as it's been presented publicly. And again, you can see from another orbiter, Mike from PA, saying it's true, Caseytron defeated Asmongold. Notice, it's not Caseytron did the right thing or the right thing happened. No, it's about defeating Asmongold. They're just using these fake concerns as a vehicle for their hatred of Asmongold. It's all about winning at the end of the day. And for people like Mike from PA, who are morally atrocious, right? Like, this guy routinely harasses people. He's put bounties on content creators' heads. He's the same idiot who told his audience that they could make citizens' arrests of United States citizens if they support Israel. Absolutely deranged. And also, like, yeah, we got to play this clip every single time. We got to watch the Riz Master Mike from PA approaching the streamer Bad Bunny.
That's fine. I think that's fine. So if a guy pays for my tab,
I think I'm getting your attention. I feel like
did you see the news? Casey Tron defeated Asmongold. Yeah, that's kind of like the people who are celebrating this. These are the only people happy about this. Welcome to your new customer base. This person right here showing a lot of gratitude to Mythic Talent. Let's see the type of account that is happy about Mythic's decision. An anti-capitalist misandrist. Oh. So the only people happy about this hate capitalism and don't want to spend any money on the talents that purely have these opportunities because of capitalism. Isn't that very ironic? Now, of course, don't worry. There are people ready to take advantage of the situation. These purity testing vultures coming out and saying, oh, now's my shot. I'm going to, on the one hand, virtue signal about the company and Asmongold, but on the other hand, I'm going to shoot my shot and see if I can get an in with that same company. This VTuber saying, I'm glad they are parting ways. This stuff with him has gone on long enough, and it's not fair to everyone, especially those who are part of the company. I always wanted to be represented by them before I knew he was a part of the company. Maybe this will change things for the better. This person is shooting their shot. Yeah, I guess removing Asmongold makes everything better. Yeah, that's very interesting. But you know what? Hey, for people like this, I guess there's new spots to fill up because, well, former partners with Mythic Talent like Nicholas Light have been axed as well. In this case, I guess silently, but of course he shared this news on Twitter saying, while on vacation for my first anniversary with my wife, Mythic Talent, my talent agency, has parted ways with me as well. And he, like many others, have mentioned that they really weren't doing much for him in the first place. It seems like a lot of the opportunities have dried up as of late, so it's not exactly a devastating blow. It's more of a slap in the face type situation. But I want to show you guys how hard people are trying to spin these related narratives on Twitter. Look at the proposed community note on this tweet, okay? Nicholas was dropped by Mythic for being openly transphobic. Number one, you need a source that literally says Mythic made this decision because of X, Y, or Z. Like, what did Mythic say? Nothing, obviously. And the source provided here is Nicholas's reply to a tweet made after he was removed from the company. So that's their proof that he was removed for being transphobic. It's a post that happened after he was removed. Absolutely insane. A complete abuse of the note system. And you can see other talents with Mythic, like Kirsha, saying what the heck is going on, which I think is a very fair question. And the responses to that, well, it raises a very, I think, understandable concern for anyone who's still working with the company. People saying, you're next, targeting Kirsha. So they're going to go after people like Kirsha next. Did you ever think it'd be enough to get Asmongold to part ways with the company? Of course not. They're going to still harass Asmongold, they're going to harass Mythic, and they're going to harass the talents who are still there. Have you ever read this growing up? If you give a mouse a cookie, that's how it works with psychopaths on Twitter. If you give them anything, they will use it. When you capitulate to these people, they will keep using it against you and your company and your talents, and then they'll move on from you and start doing it to another company and wait for them to capitulate as well. This happens time and time again, and Mythic Talent, well, they screwed it up. This was a really bad approach to everything. This is going to be a gigantic blow to their company. I know a lot of people are probably not going to be happy with their current status at Mythic, seeing how all this went down and how basically the current talents are just kind of being left high and dry, ready for a wave of harassment to come their way. and, well, these standards be used against them. This whole thing is an absolute disaster, but wait a second. In the quotes here, y'all not gonna address skimming money off your partner's sponsorships? Well, they would. They addressed the Asmongold parting of ways first, but this morning, they decided to make a statement about the skimming off the top that was made by Grimmy. So they say this: Mythic is aware of public statements made by former talent Grimmy regarding payment discrepancies. We take her allegations seriously and have conducted a thorough review of our records. The claims that Mythic skimmed funds from her 2 campaigns are factually incorrect. Our records indicate that Grimmy was paid in full for both cited activations per contract terms and according to the terms of her talent agreement, which include an agreed upon management fee. The campaigns were valued at $1,200 or $2,100 and $4,400 respectively. In the first campaign, Grimmy was sent the full value of a $2,100 activation, less our agreed upon management fee, less any potential banking/transaction fees on her end. In a second campaign, Grimmy received the full payment of $4,400 for the campaign, less our management fee, and blah, 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 blah. Had Mythic skimmed the $100 and $400 amounts alleged by Grimmy, her payouts would have been significantly lower. Our payment platform logs every transaction, and these figures are available for independent verification via her bank statements and our portal. If any payment inconsistencies have taken place or our figures above are incorrect, we encourage Grimmy to provide us these inconsistencies so that we may remedy them. While we attempted to reach Grimmy to clarify her grievances, she chose to make these claims public before a dialogue could occur. We have sent Grimmy the banking logs, contracts, invoices, and payment receipts for these campaigns, and we remain open to reviewing any documentation Grimmy may have that contradicts them. So basically, they're putting the ball in her court, but in the process, they're saying we reviewed our own documents and we are correct. And it's up to you to disprove them with what they just sent her, apparently. And yeah, this still looks really messy. And what's very interesting about this post is, oh, they didn't lock the replies on this one, which is very odd, given the nature of this versus the previous post they just made not even 12 hours before announcing their parting ways with Asmon. But the replies are roasting them. Nicholas Light saying, can't believe y'all would bend the knee. Not only parting ways with controversial creators, but also publicizing it, giving more fuel to the mob, making them happy. Absolutely disgraceful and disgusting of you. I thought you had a spine. I guess not. The replies are open. Interesting. I wonder why. This is so unprofessional. Is there not a single PR person on the team? To be honest, Asmongold separating from you is more of a PR move for him to stay away from your pathetic downfall. Your last post got community noted. I still didn't trust you. You will get noted on this tweet soon. This does nothing to clarify you were paid $4,400 for her sponsorship. The offer you showed her was $4,000 minus 20%. You took off $400 prior to her offer. Then you took another 20% on top of it. Are you claiming the offer she is showing is fake? So yeah, that is the confusing aspect. And I think this quote kind of sums up how I feel and a lot of people feel. The plot thickens. Either Mythic is full of crap or Grimmy is dumb and doesn't understand contracts. I mean, a bit blunt here, but yeah, at the very worst, if Grimmy is wrong, she just misunderstood what I can see as a confusing set of communications, a confusing structure here that was really predicated upon very informal and just kind of lazy communications from Mythic talent. And if she's right, they are not only skimming off the top, they lied. So either way, I don't think anything malicious is happening with Grimmy, and I'd be very interested to see what they sent her and if she's going to address this any further. But yeah, this is an absolute mess, ladies and gentlemen. But on top of that, other creators have come out and said, I had a similar experience with Mythic. Straight lied to about what the sponsor was offering, and it took me talking to the sponsor themselves to find out, not surprised to see this, used cars salesman 100%. Now, I think this is a good summary so far, based on what we know, talents leaving Mythic silently. Grimmy comes out with an account of sponsorship cuts, gets a majority payment out of the sponsor while Mythic gets a cut for negotiating. Grimmy later calls sponsor and finds out that the real offer was higher. Mythic skimmed extra without saying stuff. They took more than the agreed 20%. She alleges black company behavior and tells other talents to demand their own sponsor documents. When confronting Mythic, get oops typo, and they refuse to show the full sponsor contract. Next day, Asmongold dips, and Mythic drops a PR tweet for their sponsors. I think, ladies and gentlemen, that is a pretty good explanation, a timeline of events with the not only facts, but allegations that are being addressed or not really addressed here. And Mythic talent looks pretty sloppy. At the very least, they look really, really sloppy. We don't even really know if Asmongold has completely parted ties. We don't know what it really meant when he parted ways. Is he still sitting here with an interest in the company? Is he still a co-founder? We don't really know. Hopefully he speaks on it. And with the Grimmy situation, I guess the ball's in her court because Mythic said we investigated ourselves and found that we did nothing wrong. That's pretty much what's going on here. Very messy situation, but for now, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.